What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Nephilim Entertainment. I'm Metatron Urel, your host, and this is my coverage of Robert Kirkman's Secret History of Comics. And this is episode 4, City of Heroes. Stay tuned and enjoy. Salutations, everybody. Welcome back. And in this episode, they talk about New York City, which, incidentally, if you look at the history of comics, starting with Superman, Batman, sort of the two, godfathers of comics, started out in Metropolis and Gotham City. Well, a lot of the feel of them is loosely based on New York City. And it becomes sort of the motherland of all comics, because 99% of comic book drawers, artists, are from New York City anyway. So, like I said, New York City becomes sort of the motherland, of comic books. And it wasn't until Stan Lee later on decided that he was just going to drop them right in the middle of New York City. He knew New York City. He felt comfortable in New York City. So he just, instead of putting them in a fictional place like Metropolis or Gotham City, he just threw them in the middle of New York City. Said, here you go. Here's some heroes. Have at it. So, things are good. Everybody sort of associated a lot of the heroes with New York City. I mean, you have SpiderMan, who's the friendly Spider-Man who is all up in, where is he from? Queens. You got Steve Rogers, who's Captain America, who's originally from Brooklyn. You had the Baxter Building with the Fantastic Four, is in the smack dab in the middle of New York City. Most of Tony Stark's and the Avengers headquarters in the middle of New York City. Even Doctor Strange's the nice little manor is in the middle of New York City. So a lot of comic book heroes come from New York City. So awesome tribute to the city. Never been, hope to go someday. But so the tragedies happened back in 2001, 9/11. Yeah, it changed New York City in a grand way. I remember it when I was 14 when this happened. Very tragic event. And I mean, all of our hearts went out for New York City. I remember sitting in class watching news coverage of all this happening, and I remember, my God, I wish the heroes were real that were from New York City, because I was just getting into my nerdism. Not a big point, but my point of it is that I remember thinking of all these heroes that are from New York City, if only they were real, to help save the day. Well, with the Twin Towers, of course, being so iconic, and the fact that everybody was just simply mortified by this, I applaud the comic book community coming together and actually paying tribute, I mean massive tribute, to everything that happened on 9/11. And one of the pictures that I remember seeing is a picture of Captain America as a silhouette up in the sky, and where Ground Zero would be, and where the Twin Towers would be, and he's actually holding his head as if he's about ready to cry. Not to mention you have a myriad of firefighters and police officers, and Superman, the strongest man in comic books next to the Hulk, is standing there going, wow. That, to me, says a lot about the writers and how they had respect for the real life heroes, the cops, the firefighters, everybody who pretty much was in the midst of this tragic event. And they really responded so quite well, comic books did. And I think at this point that's when people started having a newfound respect for comics, because back before this, comics were looking at sort of like second-rate material. It wasn't novels, it wasn't anything more, it was, basically just picture books. But after 9/11 happened and they paid their tributes and they paid their respect towards the tragic event that happened, people started paying more respect towards comics. And honest to God, that could have been what really helped sort of kickstart the movie race as far as the comic book heroes. Because with all the tributes and the patriotism, it really sparked a lot of, just overall respect for these long-term heroes. In fact, Spider-Man was the first movie to release superhero was right after 9/11, and minus the whole where they had the spiderweb up in the Twin Towers, this movie just gathered the one hero that kind of was, he wasn't overpowered, he wasn't this guy who could fly in the sky or had this $1 billion suit of armor or was a god or some being from outer space. He was just a guy who got bit by a radioactive spider, swung from building to building, and he was sort of the everyman hero. Spider-Man wasn't up in some fancy tower. He was out on the street. He was with the people of New York. And I think that's why a lot of people related to his movie becoming such a big phenomenon, because he represented what New Yorkers felt at the time. They just felt a sense of community, a sense of togetherness, especially after 9/11 happened. They wanted to feel just sort of a close-knit part of them. And all this, goes on. Well, then, as time goes on, the government starts making these plans. And after a while, people start seeing stuff like the Patriot Act and discrimination against other sets of people. And for too long, it starts setting people sort of against one another, and it starts getting to where people are starting to question the government. Comic books response: make Captain America, the biggest patriot in all of comic books, start questioning the government. He starts questioning everything they're doing. Starts wondering if what he's doing is actually the right thing to do. Now that's phenomenal for a character like Captain America, who's always stood. In fact, his very first introductory comic was him punching Hitler in the face. And now all of a sudden now, you got him questioning the very people that created him, the very country he stood for. Ooh, that's daring yet surprisingly refreshing for Marvel. And just when you think that they can't get any better, at some point, with all the bickering and the backbiting in New York City, it spawns an artist to actually come up with a storyline that forever will change just everything about this genre. He doesn't do the traditional good guy versus bad guy scenario, because every year in Marvel they deal with this looming threat that takes the whole entire universe of Marvel, puts them together for this big triumphant story. Well, it was no longer hero versus villain, or hero versus unnatural event, or hero versus cataclysmic event. It was hero versus hero. Civil War. Civil War became one of the biggest storylines that Marvel had come up with today, because it just drew a line in the sand right down the middle. I mean, you had the two factions. One faction believed that heroes should be kept in check, that they should register their powers, register with the government, in which Iron Man supported, and then you had another part of the heroes where they felt like they shouldn't have to answer to the government, which was Steve Rogers' standpoint. So you had these two factions that went against each other, and it sparked this huge battle. And the end result sort of represented what was happening in America at the time. You had this young, this vibrant, healthy patriot die, and there was a result to this, which made people feel like this was sort of the course of America. Slowly, our patriotism is dying. We are slowly losing grasp of what sense we have of each other. And, I mean, to me, personally, because of 9/11, I became more patriotic. I was more supportive of police officers, firefighters, people who served in the military. I have full respect for all these people. They throw their lives on the line. And to me, the best thing you can do is, even though these people are fictitious, is to have a comic book character who is known to be strong, known to be invincible, and actually have them stand and salute, pay tribute to these people who throw their lives on the line. They don't wear capes, they don't wear masks. Well, a figurative sort of face cover. But anyway, they don't hide their identities. These people actually go out and risk their lives for little to no pay, little to no rewards. They do it because they feel as a sense of duty, whether it be for own personal duty or whether they want to be there for the whole community. Either way, these people throw their lives on the line. And I think that's one thing that really affected comic books in general was the fact that no longer was about just the heroes and these outlandish or crazy villains or out stories. It brought heart to the community. It brought heart to everyone around you. No longer was it a man in a cape flying around was the hero. It became the guy down the street who puts on a uniform and goes and fights fires every day is a hero. It puts the struggling father who puts on a uniform, drives around in a police cruiser all night long, protecting the neighborhood against all kinds of threats. He was a hero. Phenomenal Joker. And for them to take this sense of terror, especially when people at the
favorite villains, much less my favorite Joker. And for them to take this risk is truly phenomenal. But I love this episode because they pay tribute to a city that sort of is a living creature itself. I mean, I don't think of New York City as a sports team or just some spot on the map. I mean, I think of it as this massive collective mass of people and cultures and ideas and beliefs. And there's so many heroes and so many masks that can put itself on because of Marvel, because of DC. And I feel like New York City is just its own living apparatus. And I love this. And someday I hope later on I can go and visit the city and pay tribute myself for everything that the city has been through. And I just want to express a great deal of love towards my New Yorkers out there. If anybody who's watching from New York, give me a big thumbs up. But thank you for watching my video. Let me know down below, at the comments below. Question for y'all is, how much did 9/11 affect y'all? Let me know down at the comments below. But give me a big thumbs up and send out some love to your fellow New Yorkers. And this is Matt Trondrell, wishing all you daydreamers and creators out there, keep your heads in the clouds. Peace.